Hey everybody, long time no see. Today we're going to be making these floating shelves out of 1/2-inch plywood on Nathan Builds. So I've got a long space here on the left of my vanity that I need to build shelves for, so I'm going to do some floating shelves, and we're planning to do one at 24-inch and about 20 inches apart, so it's going to be 5 shelves. As you can see, the shelves are pretty simple. They've got a body made of plywood with gaps on the sides that allow it to slide into plywood strips that are attached to the walls. Most of this project I'm using 1/2-inch thick plywood, and oops, I realized that I did not extend the slots on my outfeed table far enough, so I couldn't push the sled the whole way through, so I had to flip it over and cut through it again. Anyway, you could definitely use 1/4-inch thick plywood for this as well. For my particular dimensions, one sheet of plywood made about 5 shelves, and I think I had a little bit left over. I also used some scrap 3/4-inch pieces for the runners that attach to the walls, but you could definitely just use 2 pieces of 1/2-inch thick and then glue them together, or if you are precise enough, you could just use 1 piece of 1/2-inch thick plywood. As you saw in the drawing at the beginning, each shelf needs a top, bottom piece, and then internal side, back, and front frame pieces, as well as runners that attach to the walls. That's what I'm cutting here. So the plan is we're gonna put this all together, and then I'm gonna go up, measure each one to the space it's going in, and cut this on the table saw down to final width. So I'm leaving a little bit extra space here to make sure that as I take off a tiny little bit, it's not gonna, it'll still be able to fit. So I used wood glue and some brad nails to hold everything together. If you were going to do a version of this that maybe had mitered corners and had the wood grain showing, then you probably would just want to glue and clamp and not use brad nails, but I just filled in the nail holes with putty and then covered them with paint in the end, so you don't see them anyway. I marked where the frame is going to sit on the internal pieces so that I can nail in the right spots once I cover it up. Then I used wood putty to fill in the holes and the end grain. I'm going to attach the runners to the wall with industrial adhesive and a brad nail or two to hold it in place while it cures. The biggest challenge is getting that first shelf level, and then I'll show you how I build off of that. So my general approach was use 2 levels to try and get it exactly level, and then hold both of the sides up with this shelf piece, and that way I can kind of get it level and then press them quickly against the wall. It worked actually pretty well considering, but I did have to go back and do a bit of finagling. Okay, so that turned out to be too difficult. We started on this side, brad nailed in one end, and then leveled it out with the level on top, and then did the other side off of that by using the board to get, So we're gonna drive a screw into the stud, which I think is like right about here, just for some extra strength. Since I made the shelves a little bit wide so that they could fit just right, I marked them and then went and cut them down until they fit in just perfectly. You can see there's a lot of gap in the wall, even from just here to the back, there's like an inch. So I'm gonna have to probably put some backer rod and then caulk, which is what I thought would have to happen, but we have to measure back and make sure that this is flush in the front, but all in all, looks good. Let's see what the level is. Good. The way I'm doing these, just so you can see, I cut a spacer and I'm going to use a level, make sure it's level here, but I measured in where those are going to go. I'm going to drill a hole in here, and then I can, in the same locations here, and then we'll be able to just screw those in. After some light sanding, I added a few coats of semi-gloss paint. To fill those gaps before I caulked, I decided to use MDF strips. I just cut them down so they fit about right, and I super glued them in. Mostly this was necessary for the pieces that were on the bottoms of the shelves, since there were gaps there too that I didn't want to see. But after that was done, I taped everything off and then laid down a good amount of caulk, and then I used a silicone caulking tool that I bought to level everything out. It actually worked quite well. It took a little bit of time and patience, but everything looked very smooth. And we're done. This was a really fun and pretty easy project. It took me about 8 total hours, although that was spread out across a couple of days. When I was building my house, I think it was going to cost maybe $500 to $1,000 to have these built, so no regrets here getting this done for cheaper. And while the caulk shrunk a little bit, you can see in here, definitely shrunk back here a little bit, sank down in, but really it just gives it a feel of the paint kind of is just there. There's not much I could do about it, considering the back of this was about, I think, almost an inch wider than the front, so the drywall was just not done in parallel, so not much you can do about that. Better than the other way around where the front's bigger, but I could go back and do another caulk run back here and level this out, but I don't really care. There's gonna be boxes on here. I don't even mind the look right now. Like I said, it mostly just kind of blends into the wall. And mostly I just didn't want dirt and stuff going back there, so I think it looks really good. Only a couple things that you might be able to see. So like, because of the way I built the shelves, you can see a tiny bit of like seam here. That's just where there's a high spot. I got to go back and sand that again, but it doesn't really bother me. I think it looks quite good next to the rest of the bathroom. Thanks all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.